Over the last decade, the world has been worried about the relationship between China and Africa. This is not from political or societal ties, but from the influx of money to the development of Africa from China. Today, only Eswatini has refused any form of loan from China, as the debt owed to China from the remaining African countries continues to grow. The world is also worried that the African nations are falling into a debt trap, with loans that will never be able to be paid off intended by China. So with this, we look at what would happen if all the African countries could not pay off their debt to China. How would this affect relations, and what could China do about it? That's what we'll discuss today on Africa Assemble. If you do not want to subscribe, at least click the like button. If you do subscribe, welcome to the team, and greet us in the comment section below. And please do not forget to turn on the notification button to never miss our videos, which help us make more content you love about our amazing continent. Let's dive in. Story time. There is so much to unpack in the history of these two entities. However, after colonization, the West gave much financial aid to African nations, but eventually stepped backwards. At the same time, Africa was tired of being the continent to be pitied with aid and wanted to be trading partners instead, which was an opportunity for China as it grew to be a superpower over time. First, both entities traded, but as time went on, China was able to flex its financial muscle to propose financial loans, which again over time grew to financial major infrastructure projects across the continent. China built the AU building, many dams, and railway systems across the continent. China right now is even financing the new administration capital project in Egypt and aids nations in manufacturing goods on the African continent before exporting them to China. China has been Africa's biggest trading partner since 2009, and at this time, China holds about 21% of Africa's debt, spending over $160 billion on the continent. The relationship, however, is criticized, particularly by America, believing that China is taking advantage of poor leadership and corruption. Recently, China's loans to Africa have been coined as debt trap policy, a concept in which China is taking advantage of Africa's willingness to borrow large sums of money, knowing they will not be able to pay back in full, with the intention of seizing assets, therefore having more control of the continent. They also think China is looking to colonize Africa, gain strategic support on the world stage if the time ever comes, make even more money from loans, or gain access to strategic assets. So if that said, what would happen if all the African countries owing China are not able to repay their debt? This is a complicated scenario because it's not just one country we're talking about, it's all African countries right now. Africa owes about $8 billion, with most coming from Angola. And with the default happening, China will definitely be the biggest loser here. China will have to work with each African country in terms of how to deal with the default. There are three major options. The first will be to forgive the loan completely, which is a complete loss. The second will be to restructure the loan by extending the lifetime of the payment, which could generate more interest or just purely reduce the monthly payments. Then there is the option of suspending repayments for an allotted amount of time, which could be a reduction in the total loan or an increase in monthly payments. But what about seizure of assets? A concern of the world is that China could use the default on loans from certain countries to seize land. An example is the Entebbe Airport in Uganda. In 2015, it was reported that China was going to seize the airport as Uganda defaulted on its $200 million loan from China. However, China responded by stating they have never seized any assets as a form of collateral. Looking into those words, China has not said it can never seize an asset. It just said it has not seized one. As for the country that cannot pay the loan, it would have to be creative in how it builds capital to repay the Chinese lenders. Either it would have to borrow money from the IMF, look further into debt forgiveness, or it may have to turn to itself and depend on its private sector or even taxes to repay the loans. In the long term, this affects the African country's ability to borrow money, as it will have a history of not fulfilling its repayment obligation. The nation will become a high-risk lender henceforth. So what do you think? Could China actually seize national assets if the borrowing African countries cannot repay their debt? Did you know there are other mega projects in Africa that are not necessarily sponsored by Chinese investors, like Eco Atlantic and Acorn City? Check out our video here on what it would be like if you lived in Acorn City. Do not forget to subscribe and like the video to help us. Comment below to discuss or request a video. Okay, bye now.